Okay, today we'll be looking at microscopes. As in the first video, we looked at the history of microscope. So today we will dive deep into the definition for microscopes and then the parts of microscope and then some functions of the microscope. Okay, so fast forward. We first ask ourselves, what is a microscope? I know this part of this session, students really don't regard it or see it to be cheap, but in the trend of WIEC, it normally comes in the exams and then it is always useful in your WIEC exams, especially in practical. So please, if you are listening to me and then you're looking at this video, you take this video very serious. So we ask ourselves, what is a microscope? A microscope is an instrument used to view or observe microscopic specimens. That is, objects that are too small to be seen with the naked eye. Now, what are some of the objects that are too small to be seen with the naked eye? These include viruses, bacteria. Remember, we said a cell is the smallest and the basic unit of life, meaning that you can't see a cell with your eye. So you have to use the microscope. And then other tiny living things. Okay, so those doubting this instrument will ask, then why then do we use a microscope? Microscopes allows biologists and students, note, not only biologists and students, but microscopes allow all scientists to observe structures and organisms not visible to the naked eye, like how the definition explains itself. Okay. Also, it helps us to study cells and their components in details, and also identify microorganisms. And then also we use microscopes because it helps us to conduct scientific research at the cellular level. Also understands the microscopic world that makes up all living things. Okay, so these are some of the reasons why we use a microscope. Now, the point is, and then one mistake we normally do, in which I just did, and then I want to rectify the mistake, is in the process of biology, the term help should be avoided because it is the job of the instrument, but it is not aiding or assisting. Therefore, let's give the reason why we use a microscope again. And then let's see how best we can give the reason. So microscopes allow biologists and students to observe structures and organisms not visible to the naked eye. Also, microscopes allow students and then biologists to study cells and their components in details. It also allows students to identify microorganisms. It allows scientists to conduct scientific research at the cellular level, and also allow scientists and students to understand the microscopic world that makes up all living things. So in this point, we should avoid the use of the word help, because in this nature, without the instrument, there is no way we can view tiny organisms. Therefore, it is not helping, but it is the job of the instrument. So in the first answer I gave are the answers we normally give in WIEC. And then we will say that, oh, we wrote the paper. But these few technicalities will be circled, and then It's either we are being deducted a mark or we are being marked down. Okay. Now let's move forward. What are the types of microscopes? We have 2 types. Some other books too will say 3 types and a whole lot. But let's stick to the 2 types according to the new curriculum. It says that we have 1, the light microscope. So let's look at this light microscope. Light microscope, what should come into your head is then this microscope is going to use a light. So a light microscope is an optical instrument that uses visible light and a system of lenses to magnify objects. So here in this process, we cannot view these tiny organisms. Therefore, we need an instrument. And we are saying that one of these instruments that will help us to view these tiny organisms are the light microscope. And then this type of microscope is having a light, a visible light, and a system of lenses that will magnify the things we are not seeing. So the combination of the light and then these lenses will magnify the tiny organisms we are not seeing with our naked eye. The reason why we are saying a microscope is an optical instrument is because we use our eyes to view through. Nobody can tell me that, oh, I used my hand, to view the microscope. No, it is not a logic. Now, what are some of the characteristics of this light microscope we are talking about? 1, it uses visible light, as the definition says, as a source of illumination. So as a source of view, says that it uses a visible light. So without the light, meaning we can't view through or we can't look through this microscope because it won't give us any result. And then 2, it uses glass lenses to magnify the specimen. It uses glass lenses to magnify the specimen. And then 3, maximum magnification is approximately 1,500 times. And then I tell you that in magnification, if you see time, meaning that the organism has been multiplied by its cells 1,500 times. Okay, so in schools and colleges, typically around 400 times magnification is being used. So in your microscopes you've been using, sometimes we could see times 400, meaning that the combination of the eyepiece lens and then the objective lens is resulting into that. Some two are slightly above. Okay. But this type of microscope is what you normally see in the schools and then colleges as well. Now, most commonly used in educational settings, like I was talking about, and then it is relatively affordable and easy to use. So in schools and then colleges, if you go, the microscopes you have been seeing are the light microscopes we've been using, and then they are very affordable. Yeah. Now, what are some advantages of this light microscope? It is affordable and accessible. 2, easy to use and maintain. 3, good for observing cells, tissues, and small organisms. And then 4, suitable for educational purposes. So these things are self-explanatory. So in the exams or in WIEC, they ask you to give the advantages of light microscope. You can give some of the advantages, or even perhaps they say give advantages of microscope, meaning that you can write some of the advantages of the light microscope. Okay. Let's go to the next type of the microscope. We have the electron microscope. An electron microscope is an advanced optical microscope or instrument that uses a beam of electrons instead of light to magnify specimen. So the difference between electron microscope and a light microscope is light microscope uses light, and then electron microscope uses electrons. Okay. Now, what are some characteristics? It uses electrons. We know electrons are negatively charged particles. So instead of light. And then 2, uses electromagnetic lenses instead of the glass lenses. You know that since it is using electrons, we should upgrade the lens because the rays that will pass through might not have effect on the organism we are looking at. Therefore, if we are upgrading to electrons, the meaning that we have to use electromagnetic lenses, okay, instead of the glass lens. Now, its maximum magnification, it is approximately 1 million times, so much higher than the light microscope. And then another one, it is very expensive and then complex to operate. It needs time. You have to, sit down, have some research on the instrument before you are able to use it. Unlike light microscope that it is easy to operate. Okay. And then it says it requires specialized training and then facilities as well. Okay, so let's look at some advantages. Extremely high magnification, as we can all bear witness, and then can observe very small structures, atoms, molecules, and then, viruses. And then it's used in advanced research. So if you go to Noguchi in Ghana, for instance, I guess they have this electron microscope because in the research of COVID-19, you can't be using the light microscope. So they use the electron microscope. Mhm. Okay, and then if you go to advanced countries, like Europe and then America too, they use this advanced uh, electron microscope. Okay, and then what are some disadvantages? Very expensive. It requires a specialized facility and training, not available in most schools, especially in Ghana. It is not available in any school. Any school. And when I talk about school, I'm not talking about university. I'm talking about these are lower primaries, are upper primaries, and then things. Yeah, because when it comes to the universities like Tech, that is Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Legon, and then UCC, I can't say much about it because I haven't been there before. Okay. All right. Now, for this course, we will focus on the light microscope as it is the type of most commonly available in schools. So here we are going to focus on the light microscope because that is what we are working within, or it works within our region. Yeah. Therefore, let's look at some comparison between the light microscope and an electron microscope. And then as you can see from the table, the source of illumination, light is visible light, and then electron is beam of electron. The type of lenses, we have the glass lenses for the light microscope, and we have electromagnetic lenses for electron microscope. Maximum magnification, we have times 1,000 for light microscope. Electron microscope, we have times 1 million. And then schools or in colleges uses 4 times 400. Yeah. And then in electron microscopes, it is not typically available in schools or in colleges. Yeah. And then cost. Light microscopes are affordable. I can even use my money to go and buy one. But electron microscope is very expensive and it takes a country to buy it or an industry or a company to buy it. And then it's easy of use. Light microscope is easy to use, and then electron microscope is very complex to use. And then commonly used in light microscopes are commonly used in education and in basic research, and then in electron microscopes are commonly used in advanced research. Okay, let's move. So now we are going to talk about the light microscope, its parts, and then function. All right. Now, the light microscope is made up of several important parts, each with a specific function. Understanding these parts and how they work together is essential for using the microscope correctly and then safely. So let's look at the parts of the light microscope. One, we have the eyepiece lens. The eyepiece lens. The first thing you will see, you will touch, you will look through is the eyepiece lens. So the eyepiece lens is the lens at the top of the microscope that you look through to observe the specimen. Location, it is at the top of the microscope or the microscope tube. So you can see that it is having these two or one thing we look through. Okay. Now function. It magnifies so you see, as I'm going or I'm moving along, I'm not using help. So the function of the eyepiece lens is it magnifies the image produced by the objective lens. And then 2, allows one to see the magnified specimen. And then 3, work together with the objective lens to produce a total magnification. So if you want to find for the total magnification, it means magnification total is equal to the objective lens times the eyepiece lens. Okay. So eyepiece lens magnification is usually times 10 or times 15. So the first lens you see or you look through, when you take it, it is how should I say it? So when you look around the eyepiece lens, you see they've written times 10 times 15. It depends on the kind of work you are doing. So you meet some of the microscope, the light microscope, which have an eyepiece lens of times 10, and then others to have an eyepiece lens of times 15. Now this means the eyepiece magnifies the image 10 times or 15 times. So only the eyepiece is magnifying the image you are not seeing 10 times or 15 times. Okay. Now we have two types of the eyepiece lens. We have one, the monocular eyepiece lens, which means that it contains only one lens you can look through. And then we have the binocular eyepiece lens, which means it contains two lenses you look through. So we have some of the light microscopes with two lenses you look through that you fix both eyes in it. And then we have just one that you fix only one eye in it. Now, important note, the total magnification of a specimen is calculated by multiplying the eyepiece magnification by the objective lens magnification. I have already talked about that. Okay. So we will do few calculations when we are getting to the latter part of this topic. Now let's go to the next part, tube. The tube is a hollow cylindrical structure that connects the eyepiece lens to the objective lens. In the middle of the microscope, between the eyepiece and then the objective lens, that is where we can find the tube. So in the middle of the microscope, between the eyepiece and then the objective lens, there is a tube. Okay. It functions as it holds the eyepiece lens in place at the top. 2, connects the eyepiece to the objective lens. 3, allows the light to pass through from the objective lens to the eyepiece. And then 4, it maintains the proper distance between the objective and then the eyepiece lens. So as I am talking about, we all know the eyepiece lens. I will talk about the objective lens, but the tube is, maintaining or guiding us to maintain a proper distance between the eyepiece lens and then the objective lens. Okay. Now, why does this tube matters? The tube ensures that the eyepiece and the objective lens are properly aligned so that you can see a clear magnified image. So when you look through the eyepiece lens, you can view directly through the tube, through the objective lens, and then to the stage where you are viewing the specimen. So this ensures that the eyepiece and the objective lenses are properly aligned. When we say something is properly aligned, look at how the military, they parade on their parade ground. They are properly aligned, awaiting for inspection. Okay. 3, we have the objective lens. So the objective lens I've been talking about at the first part and the second part. Let's look at what this objective lens is. Objective lenses are the lenses closest to the specimen that work together with the eyepiece lens to magnify the specimen. Now, it can be found on the revolving nose piece. just above the stage. So this objective lens we are talking about is the closest to the specimen that work together with the eyepiece lens. So let me tell you some steps. So from the eyepiece lens to the tube, and we move to the revolving nose piece, and then to the objective lens. Okay. So it is found on the revolving nose piece just above the stage. It functions as magnifies the specimen. It works together with the eyepiece lens to produce the total magnification, collect light from the specimen, and send it to the eyepiece lens. Now, these functions are easily read and then understandable, so we shouldn't spend much time over here. Okay. Now let's look at its magnification process. Objective lenses typically have magnifications of times 4, times 10, or times 40. Please, this is under the new curriculum. So if somebody is having another perception or another values aside what I'm saying, the person should revisit the new curriculum, and then let's have a talk in the comment section. Don't forget to follow my YouTube page, the Bio Tutor, and then on TikTok too, at @bio_tutor. Okay. Objective lenses typically have magnifications of times 4, times 10, or times 40. All right. Different magnification are used for different purposes. Now, times 4 is the low power, which is used for initial observation and then finding the specimen. So we are giving specifics now. So when we talk about times 4, it is the low power, and then it is used for initial observation and finding of the specimen. So always set your microscope under times 4 first before you turn to view object. So times 4 will give you the total view or the whole view. If you want to find a specimen, start with times 4 objective lens, and then it will give you the total or the whole view of the specimen you want to look at. Okay. And then times 10 is the medium power, which is used for general observation. So times 4 is used for general observation. So after I have tuned my objective lens to times 4, I move it to times 10 for general observation. And then during the general observation process, if I think what I am looking for, I find it there, then I got to stick with times 10. Okay, now let's look at the high power, which is times 40. And it is used for detailed observation of small structures. So if the question does not permit me to look at the details of the observation of small structures, meaning that I don't have to go to times 40, I have to stick with times 10 for the general observation. Okay. Always start with the lowest power, which is times 4 first, then move to the higher powers if needed. Okay, let's look at the total magnification. So total magnification is equal to objective lens magnification times eyepiece lens magnification. Now we all know objective lenses, we all know eyepiece lens magnification. So example, if you use the times 10 objective lens with an eyepiece lens of times 10, the total magnification is 10 times 10 will result in times 100. So objective lens is times 10. Objective lens is times 10. And then eyepiece lens is also times 10. Therefore, if you multiply the objective lens by the eyepiece lens, we are going to get times 100. So that is how to calculate for the total magnification. Let's go to the arm. Now, the arm is the curved support structure that connects the base of the microscope to the eyepiece. It is found on the side of the microscope, connecting the base to the tube. It functions as provide a structure support for the microscope, connect the base of the eyepiece and then the upper component. And then these upper components are connect the base to the eyepiece and then other upper components, and then serves as a handle for carrying or tilting the microscope. So simply the arm is what we hold where we want to pick the microscope. So it is being, something curved. It depends on the company that manufactured it, but mostly it is curved, and then we hold it in support with the base when we want to pick or raise the microscope. Now, how to use it? Hold the arm when carrying the microscope. Hold the arm when tilting the microscope to adjust the angle for view. And then never carry the microscope by the eyepiece or the stage. So some people will hold the eyepiece or just the stage, and then they are saying that they are carrying the microscope. That is the wrong way of carrying a microscope. If you want to carry a microscope, you hold the arm and then in support with the base, and then you carry it that way. Okay. The arm is a proper place to hold the microscope to avoid damaging delicate parts like the lenses. Okay, let's move to the next part 5, revolving nose piece. And then we will end here, and then you wait for the next episode where we continue with the part. Okay. When we talk about revolving nose piece, it is a rotating turret that holds and positions the objective lenses. So let's say the revolving nose piece is a part on which the objective lenses are placed. Okay, and then we hold it to change the objective lenses. So when we hold it, we will see some click sign, click, meaning that it has been the objective lens has been changed. When you turn it again, you will hear a sound like click, and then me telling you that the objective lens has changed. Now, its location, it is below the tube, just above the stage. Okay. It functions as, it holds all 3 objective lenses, the x4, the x10, and the x40. It rotates to allow you to select different objective lenses. And then the next one, it ensures that the selected objective lens is properly aligned to the tube and eyepiece. How do you use this revolving nose piece? Rotate the nose piece to change from one objective lens to another. Always start with the lowest power x4 first. Then the next one, rotate carefully to avoid damaging the lens. Listen to the click sound that indicates the lens is properly positioned. Why is it important for us to use the revolving nose piece? The revolving nose piece allows you to quickly change magnification without removing lenses, making it easy to observe specimens at different levels of details. So we hold it just to, be changing it like that. So it's like a fan regulator. You see, when you hold the fan regulator, it changes from 1 to 2 to 3. That's the same as a revolving nose piece. So if you hold it, when we change it, we hear a click sound, and it means that it has changed from x4 to x10. Always remember that your objective lens should be placed at x4 first before or when viewing the object. Okay, thank you for your time. See you in the next episode when we'll be talking about the other parts of the microscope. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel on YouTube, that is the BioTutor, and then on TikTok too, at the _bio_tutor. Always remember my name is Agama. Bye bye.